All right, what's going on, boys and girls? So this particular video we're going to be talking about probably one of my least favorite Linux YouTubers on the fucking planet. But with that being said, I was going down the rabbit hole looking for other stuff to do videos on, and someone had made a video talking about this specific portion of Dingbad's typical Linux video. So I wanted to see what the video was about from the source, as opposed to reacting and looking at what the other guy was talking about, which I'll probably get into after I do this video at some point. But let's get into what my least favorite Linux YouTuber has to say, because it's probably, I'm going to try to be polite on this one as much as possible.
One other thing that just really gets me is that we kick out of our community anyone we disagree with. This just happens regularly lately. And this includes our founders, man. Our founders. And I've got tons of examples here, but I want to narrow this down.
Thank you for the base. Doesn't mean you have modern relevance. It's kind of a thing. Kind of like how One Duke here is fading in and out of relevance. Why people give him relevance, I do not know. So here's the thing. You can't live on past glory. Either you stay modern day relevant, or the project outgrows you. Simple as that. Thank you for the contributions. Much appreciated. Doesn't mean you can sit there and live off them.
We recently forced the removal of Richard Stallman from the Free Software Foundation. Now, Richard Stallman technically resigned, but his hand was forced, and the Free Software Foundation's hand was forced as well. A mob rose up and went on the attack against.
No, you dumb. No. What happened was Stallman is a representative of the Free Software Foundation. He has societal questionable views on topics that are well established over many years. You can go as far back as 98 from what I've seen on his own website, where he is fine and defends what is, for the longest time, for the last, let's just go over the last 70 years, that is considered bad by societal standards. He, as a representative of a organization, those views caught up with him. And it's not just like, oh, he had one bad view on one bad thing on a mailing list. No, he's had 20 plus years of a bad position on a society, like something society as a whole, regardless of political end of looking at things, has considered bad. So the fact that he's defending that position and sinking down, and as the self-appointed, I'll note this, not elected, self-appointed leader at the time of the Free Software Foundation, he was a representative. When your foundation and your leader does not represent a long-established societal view that is counteractive to, regardless of political position, it makes you look bad from a PR perspective, and this is the guy you're going to trot out in front to pull your position. No, you can find better. Thank you for the contributions, Richard. Your relevance has diminished. You sank your own fucking boat with your history of dumb shit in a solid position of things.
It's Richard Stallman, the guy who's behind the GPL, the GNU, the GNU/Emacs, and all those sorts of things. And the mob went after him. Now, what's interesting is the mob went after him, and I'm not going to get into the details about it, but the mob went after him for things that I've criticized.
Why not get into it? All you have to do is go to his own website and do a search on the exact topic he was talking about. Yeah, you've criticized him. You've criticized him to his face. Okay? 2012, you might have criticized him. 2017, the last time you did an interview with him, you had your head shoved so far up his ass that you were probably kissing his lips from behind.
Criticized him for in the past, to his face and publicly. But the mob decided to take up the pitchforks and the torches and chase after the monster and get him out of the Free Software Foundation. At least that's how they viewed it, I think.
No, how they viewed it was, this is the guy that you guys decided to, for the FSF diehards, this is the dude you guys put out in front of the camera for your position. There is this weird thing. You can have ideals, but there's also a public relations game that anybody on any organization will tell you that you have to play. Stallman's not the guy to put out in front of the camera. I'll say it, neither is Linus. You're the first to tell you that.
Same thing was going on with the Linux kernel. A lot less success, but the top dog at the Linux kernel, Linus himself, he went on a month-ish long hiatus in order to see a therapist or something because he was mean to people or something like that.
No, again, you apparently don't understand this. I'm mean to people. I'm a blunt, abrasive douche, and I'd be the first to admit I have a very Linus approach to people. I.e., look at any content that I've had to react to you prior. This is me being mellow right now. Really, at the end of the day, Linus went to how to better interact on. There's a difference between professional criticism and personal criticism. I tend to mix both because, yeah, that's just me. And I'm not in charge of a multi-billion-dollar size project like the Linux kernel. You have to understand your position you're in and how you have to interact with people. You're always going to hurt somebody's feelings, but there's a way to do it. You're not going to make everybody happy. There's always a way to do it, though. You know, I believe his last one was, I don't know how you're still alive when you're so stupid you couldn't even find out your mother's tit to suck on, I believe was the one you're particularly referring to. You know, stuff like that on a developmental level is counterproductive. You can still be blunt about why something doesn't work or how stupid somebody is, but there are ways to do it. And his way just doesn't work and was not productive. And that's the difference. There's a way to be productive. And yes, he is right. Having the sugar-coated type of criticism doesn't work. But you can still have blunt criticism without having to sugarcoat and just say how it is. You know, like I say, signal to noise. When it comes to professional environments, you have to have more signal, a whole lot less noise. And that's just what it is. Especially in those levels of interaction. And you have to understand the position that you're at and how that relates to your representation of the organizations or the projects that you are associated with. Guilt by association is a thing.
I don't mean to downplay anyone's thoughts around any of this. But there was not just an effort to get Linus removed from the kernel, but other Linux kernel maintainers and developers as well. Long-standing ones that have been working on it for decades. People who I would consider to be founders of the Linux world. Key neckbeards.
Here's the thing. You can't, I'll say it again. Just because they're founders doesn't make them impervious to criticism, doesn't make them impervious to fuck-ups, doesn't make them impervious to a project passing them by. They either stay relevant based on their work, or their work passes them by. And that's really all it boils down to. And some of these, quote-unquote, as you put it, neckbeards, have been passed by, and the projects have outgrown them. And that's just how it is. You either stay relevant, or you don't. Hero worshipping, just because of their past accomplishments, is so fucking stupid. And I don't get why people do it. Because you're looking at things of, oh, this outshines every stupid, dumb decision you have made. So, does that excuse Hans Reiser for murdering people? No. Thanks for the contribution to Reiser FS, because it was actually really good. But it still doesn't change the fact that you murdered people. That's the point. You can't just look at something and be like, oh, I'll completely disregard the stupid shit that you do, or the bad stuff that you do. That's hero worship. That's idol worship.
Even though a lot of them don't have neckbeards, but key neckbeards. And the open source initiative. The open source initiative is fascinating because it was founded by two guys, really. One of those guys was banned, and the other one quit in disgust. Yeah.
As far as the Eric S. Raymond and the OSI, this is where things get a little different. The OSI and Eric Raymond's falling out and banning, etc., was uncalled for. To put it, I'm trying to be somewhat. The OSI overreacted, and I'm not going to be the one. I won't even remotely say that it wasn't overreacted. There are times when people should be called out for their bullshit, like what happened with Stallman. That was many years in the making. And there are times where, because you had a difference of opinion, but there's a different. It's different from having a societal view that is contrary. You can. So, in Stallman's case, he's always supported bestiality and pedophilia. Let's just get it out of the way. That's something that he always supported. In Eric Raymond's case, he was talking about how having any difference of opinion that is logically looked at from a different point of view is being shut down. That is totally different from having a overarching societal, opposing societal view. And let's be honest. Common sense. Something that, that you can make the arguments that Stallman is autistic and Asperger's and all the other things. At the end of the day, he will not be somebody that has a point of view that will ever be sold well to society in regards to those two topics. Eric Raymond was simply saying that, hey, I have a different technical opinion, and that anybody who has a different technical opinion it's a witch hunt. And that that's a work related problem where culture needs to understand that approaching a problem or approaching something in a different way is totally okay. As long as the end goal is the same goddamn thing, who cares? That's just my take on it, but hey, whatever. So again, VOSI made a stupid mistake and they overreacted.
That's what we're doing with our founders, the people who started all of this. The open source movement, the free software movement, the Linux kernel, all of it. That's what we're doing to them. It makes so many people feel so unsafe.
Again, it's hero worship. You either stay relevant from your technical aptitude, in Linus's case, or you stay relevant based on your contributions to the overall culture. Positive impacts. In the last, since the GPL, I'll be nice and say GPL v3. What has Stallman really contributed to other than a lot of the in the free software end of things, other than GPL v3? He hasn't contributed anything as it relates to software in that regard or in that culture. He's done other things. Well, I'll give credit where credit is due. You know, stuff with landmines and all the other stuff. That's cool, but that still doesn't diminish the other dumb stuff that you do. You have to look at the good and the bad. And again, I think hero worship it's stupid. Like, as an example, if I was to hero worship Hideo Kojima, you know, this is the guy who made Snatcher, Zone of the Enders, Second Runner, Metal Gear Solid. I would love everything he does. I don't care for Death Stranding. It's an interesting concept, but I'm not above critiquing it in the fact that it's an overglorified walking simulator with backpacking elements. That's what it is. So I'm not gonna not criticize something just simply because I view them as an idol or a hero. Character artist that does Final Fantasy VII stuff. I'm not going to attempt his name, but their just Cerberus was garbage. The story was kind of cool, but like overall, the game quality was garbage. A lot of his other stuff is not good. So, which one? Good, bad, and that's what it is. Just like in the gaming industry and a lot of the stuff that's going on in there are plenty of people to criticize for a lot of the stuff that they've done, and the past can catch up with you.
It makes them feel like a mob could break out and come for them at any moment for saying anything. The mobs have attacked me plenty of times. It's awful.
Mobs have attacked you. I can only speak for me on this one. Yes, I've attacked you. Verbally. I've called you many things. All those things, usually with a, as you would put it, a mountain of swears, when I would say I probably threw a moon at you instead. At the end of the day, really what it boils down to is, I'm going to let you finish, but at the end of the day, it boils down to, you just don't know how to handle criticism. There's criticism. There's constructive criticism. And they're just people saying, hey, I wish X person would die. And if you can't sort through that, then that says a lot about you.
It makes people not want to be part of the Linux community. It makes people afraid to be a part of the Linux community and still be an honest person and talk at all. Just use words or have opinions. Oh, heavens to Betsy, heaven help you if you have a political opinion. And we're not even talking about going on to a mailing list and spouting your political opinion in an off-topic way. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about going to a conference, getting up on stage, grabbing the mic and saying, you got to vote for this person or anything like that. Nothing like that. I'm saying there have been people who have been banned from Linux conferences. We think because they had one tweet one time where they talked.
Am I the only one that finds it ironic? They had one tweet one time. Says the guy who was reported an entire article and video based on a tweet without verification. Well, hello, irony.
About liking one candidate or another. This has happened. And I've reached out to the organizations that have done that. And what have they done in response? They won't return my calls ever for months on end. Years.
You mean kind of like what you do? You got criticized wildly on Twitter, and anytime you get mildly criticized, you just block people. I do find that ironic. Anytime anybody asks questions, anytime anybody has a criticism about a company you work for, or did work for, I should say, then you blow a proverbial gasket in your case. Well, I find the irony a bit entertaining that you, of all people, talk about them ignoring you, etc. Says the guy who blocks, ignores, runs away, tucks his tail between his legs, has the yellow streak, doesn't engage, won't have a debate, civil or otherwise. Take your pick. The guy who's doing the criticism right now, not me, One Duke, is also the guy who avoids any criticism when it relates to him, his product, his projects, or himself. That's rich.
Years at this point for some of these issues. And it just seems to be getting worse. We have mobs, big, friendly mobs who are coming to kill you at all times. Now, a case could be made that some of this sort of thing is happening outside of the Linux world as well. And that's fine. But I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about this is here. You're right here, right now, us. Building open source solutions, building free software, making the Linux world more awesome, more inclusive of friendship, right? Let's include friendship for a change. And just being nice to each other, being excellent to each other. And right now, a lot of people have been leaving the Linux community because of that fear. And yeah, that is a thing that's happening. And I think that's going to escalate. And that's terrifying. So when you combine all those things together, combine all that together into one.
And my experience is the total opposite. There are people coming into the community that are amazing, that are great, all walks of life, genders, religions, geographic areas, languages, different ideals, and they're all able to coexist. It's about which ones you want to promote and which ones you want to give that shine. You want to give the shine to the ones that are the vocal douchebags. Again, I'm a douchebag, so hey, whatever. I'm in that portion, I guess. But here's the thing. There are terrific people coming into the community. The developer for Ubuntu Unity It is a fantastic example of fresh, young people coming into the community, pick up a project that has been abandoned, relegated to a maintenance mode, whatever you want to call it, and develop it further. And a community of hundreds of people have developed around that. That is fucking amazing. That's something we should celebrate, highlight. But the personalities, other than a few, are not the ones that talk about that stuff. I would prefer to highlight the good in the community. Yeah, you can shine the light on the bad and drag it out, kicking and screaming. But you also have to get the ones that don't speak to actually speak, because those are the majority.
One big thing. What does this mean? What is the grand takeaway? What are we? What is the Linux community with all this going on? So I thought about it. And I thought, what defines the Linux community? And this is what I came up with. The Linux community is a corporate-controlled committee of people who don't use Linux and dislike ideas. That's what I came up with. We ban people for having ideas, even
corporate-controlled committee of people who don't use Linux, dislike ideas. I appreciate ideas. I appreciate conversation and discussion. A lot of that discussion can come out in vulgar ways. I don't care. If I think your idea is vulgar and stupid, i.e. racism, i.e. take your pick, I'll call you exactly what I think and give you examples of why exactly that's stupid. It's a novel concept. But for me, that's not the case. One Duke, actually engage in the community outside of your little stupid fucking sphere. Go engage with Destination Linux. Go engage with communities like Big Daddy Linux Live, Ubuntu Unity, Linux for Everyone. You know, all those communities that you so willingly all the time ignore. Because those communities like ideas, they like differences of opinions, and they like giving solutions. I'm still waiting for the day you provide a solution.
Even if they founded all of this, the Free Software Foundation and Linux and open source stuff and licenses, everything, we'll just ban them. We'll just ban them outright. They had ideas and their ideas were not the right ideas, so we have to ban them. We are corporate controlled, but we are also committee controlled, which is a really weird thing to be, but it's the truth. That's what we have. We have an open source committee of corporate financed and controlled people who, when you go to the conferences, by and large, they're not running Linux.
This is the guy for the longest time who didn't eat his own dog food. Illumination software creator. Need I say more?
The people making the decisions aren't running Linux. The people on the committees, some of them run Linux. A lot of them don't. The people in the audiences, some of them run Linux. A lot of them don't. So by and large, can I say that they are people that use Linux? No, I can't. It seems more obvious that they don't use Linux. So we are a corporate controlled committee of people who don't use Linux and dislike ideas. Is that really what we are, though? Because it looks like that. It looks like that is what we are exactly. If you remove yourself, back yourself up, 1,000-foot view. You're not in the Linux community, right? Wipe away everything you know about Linux and open source and GPL toolsets, everything. Just wipe it out of your brain. And you're like, okay, I'm going to close my Windows 10 Surface Pro laptop, put it off to the side. Oh, look at that Linux community over there. Well, they're banning everyone that founded them. Okay.
Okay. And how's that any different? They're banning founders. Again, I'm okay with the Stallman stepping down portion. Like, I don't give a shit about that. That was a long time coming. The Eric S. Raymond one, that's where it gets a little dicey. It's got a lot of dicey. And the OSI made a bad decision. And they should be called on that. And that's fine. The Linus Torvalds one. Yes, the Linux Foundation is not a... If it's a non-profit, for the love of God, then how the hell? Because at the end of the day, they don't promote desktop Linux at all. Everything is corporate controlled on that end. Linus doesn't give a shit where the code comes from. So really, Linus is the gatekeeper when it comes to we still have a functional kernel. He just has to learn how to better interact with people. It's the therapy portion. But that's been years in the making too, because he's even admitted over the last 25 years that he is not a people person at all. His interaction with people is not good. He admits it. He's admitted it for years. So yeah, eventually you're going to have to deal with your problems. Novel concept. As far as the 1,000-yard view, if you just look at it and you're looking at it as companies or a corporate way, companies outgrow their founders. Markets change, etc. So you want to look at it from a corporate environment? There you go. Not everything is going to stay the same. To me, this is Linux sucks because people have different ideas on how people should interact, and there's societal changes that you dislike, etc. And I'm not saying that we should shut down all argument or all discussion. It's how it's approached. There are some of us in real life who are just as blunt and abrasive as we are online. I'll be the first to admit it. So how I talk about the person I'm reacting to right now, I would say all this to his face. But that's me. I should be the exception to that stuff. That should not be the norm. If the problem is the internet gives you, I can put on a persona of what I want. So you get the more of the trolls and all the other dumb shit that goes on the internet. What people, and I've always stressed this, is civility. You can have disagreements in different points. It's how those points from both parties are approached. Because if they're really willing to have a dialogue, they're willing to listen. That's the key.
Okay. And I went to this Linux conference once, and I didn't see anyone who wasn't using a Mac, and they did all the presentations on a Mac. And then I went and listened to a few Linux podcasts that were all recorded on a Mac, so they don't use Macs. And oh, look at this. They were sponsored by a lot of big companies. And there's nothing wrong, again, with big companies. Big companies are fine. I like big companies. I do a lot of work with big companies. I've worked at some great big companies that I really like. Some of them, people would feel like don't like free software, but I still really liked working for them. That's a thing. But that's really what it is. A corporate-controlled committee of people who don't use Linux and dislike ideas. Is that who we are?
No, that's the narrative that you want to spin. That's the narrative you want to spin. That's it. You can spin your narrative and your flavor of it all you want. But really what it boils down to, community is what you make of it. Again, I have found far better communities than the ones you've helped make or been a part of. You know, so for me, those communities are what represent, quote unquote, the Linux community. Everyday users of all levels, from distro makers, maintainers, new users, super high-end users, server admins, take your pick. Coming together and just talking about solving problems, having differences of, hey, for me, like, I don't like GNOME. I'm a Plasma guy, but I always find it intriguing to hear what people have to say about why they use GNOME. And maybe it'll change my mind. It's about the approach you take to any quote-unquote civil discourse or civil argument. It has to be approached with the understanding that I want to learn. I want to understand. That's something that people like Lunduke won't ever understand, because he's too busy having that yellow streak down his tail and having his head shoved up his ass from trying to run away and bury his head in the sand. I think he just kind of missed the sand and found his rectum instead. So the irony of this entire video is the source that it's coming from. I'm all for discourse, civil conversation, as far as like preferences, all that kind of stuff, differences of opinion. It's how it's approached. That's why people who dig into stereotypes and dug into that and lean so hard into that, you're not ever going to change their mind, or very rarely. Because what ends up happening is you guys will hit that impasse and you'll both dig in to the no man's land portion of it. And you're not going to get anywhere. At that point, it's just trench warfare. Your shit sucks. Your shit sucks. And that's all it boils down to. You're a dumbass. You're an idiot. Yeah, I use a lot of swears. I am vulgar to no end. But there's always a willingness to listen that I have. Now, sometimes when I do these reactions, they're more reactionary because of what's being said. But I'm only reacting to what has been said. So I would love to actually hear a regular conversation on this, but there are you get to a point with some of these conversations. Source is not always. They don't understand the pot meat kettle situation that they're doing.
Heavens to Betsy. That's horrible. That's a horrible thing to be. And here's the thing. If that is not who we are, because that's what it looks like from the outside, maybe we should find a way to stop that stuff. Maybe we should find a way to be organized a little bit better, so it's a little less make fun of people. Maybe we should find a way to make sure people who are making decisions about Linux are using Linux, right? Maybe we should find a way where we encourage each other in a friendly, positive, helpful way to use more Linux on our desktops, on our laptops, especially when we're out in public making a big deal about doing Linuxy stuff, like when we're at a Linux conference, right? Let's help each other with that. Maybe we should do that. Maybe, you think? If all of that bums you out, if all of that is just like, dude, Lunduke, that is a massive, massive bummer. There's nothing fun there. To you, I say this. Chin up. Have a stiff upper lip and all that. And just remember, at least Linux backwards compatibility really sucks. So.
Okay. Way too long of a video to watch, and I had way too much to say. So at the end of the day for this, I would love to lambast the source. I mean, I could spend 3 hours lambasting the source of this. I already spent 40 plus minutes doing that. Really, it's the approach. There's always going to be some people who just want no man's land. Nothing survives. The impossible impasse with two sides entrenched in their camps. What hurts the Linux community is not the environment, because most of the code contribution, there's still a lot of drive-by code contributions that are not corporate backed. That's something that he doesn't mention. There are great communities out there, and great communities that people have built that talk about inclusivity, that represent all walks of and levels of Linux, from software, from app developers, distro makers, maintainers, new users, server admins, etc., across the board. Those are the communities we should be highlighting. Those are the communities we should be praising. Those are the communities that we should all be a part of. The problem is tribalism. As an example, if one dude joined any of those communities I was part of, I might not talk to him. Awesome to have him in the community, though. When it comes to this stuff and his like news reporting and all the other stuff, I'm still going to be critical of him. I see no value in particular people's commentary. So some people don't see value in mine, and that's okay. So it's this weird thing. You want to be inclusive and fun and all the other stuff, but you also are unwilling to engage and be a part of making that change that you talk about. So what's it going to be? Are you going to be, quote unquote, to be the catalyst for change? Or are you just going to put out your yearly Linux sucks videos and constantly lambast other people for not doing exactly what you want them to do? And then when you get criticized about it, ignore them by blocking them, disabling comments, shifting through the noise to find the signal. Something we all could do a little bit better.